Welcome to the Bader Show. No Mark Bader today and tomorrow, but I'm filling in. And what a great way to fill in with someone who has had a busy season in 2022. Skylar Grote reached Final X. She won Matteo Pellicone, and she was U.S. Open champion. Skylar, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I got to make sure I get this right. Is it Matteo Pellicone or Pellicone? You were over there. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah, I think it's Pellicone. I think you got it right.
Okay, let's start with that because you had a great tournament there. Went 4-0 in the finals. You beat a two-time world medalist, senior world medalist. How'd you feel going into that tournament?
Yeah, I feel like I was just kind of on a roll. Like Final X didn't go my way, but I had committed to doing that tournament before Final X. So my coach said, like short-term memory, like we gotta just win the next best thing. And so I just had that in my mind. I was like, Final X is over. I can't change that. I'm going to go to Italy and I'm going to win that tournament. And that's the next best thing that I can do. And so I was ready for it. I was training really hard. I had a series of tough tournaments and I performed really well besides maybe Final X. But even Final X, like I felt good going into it. I feel like I wrestled tough. I made, a couple mistakes that costed me the world team spot, but I feel like I've been wrestling well the last couple months. So I was super excited to go, to Italy and wrestle some international girls because I haven't wrestled some international girls in a while. So that was super exciting.
And I have to think, though, winning matches like that where you beat high-level competition, that has to really up your confidence level going into the remainder of the season.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know where I was in comparison to, girls from other countries. And so I think it was really awesome to go there. And I think I wrestled the 11th ranked girl at 72 from Romania. And then I beat her and I was just like, okay, like, let's just keep climbing. And then I knew I was going to wrestle the German too. And I knew she was ranked second, but I was just like, even before that tournament, I knew that I was, somewhere in the top. Like, I know I'm super tough. I know my defense is really good. I knew that the only weakness that I really had was like my shot recovery. So I worked on shot recovery. I worked on getting out of an underhook, getting out of 2-on-1s. And, that really helped for that tournament, and especially against that German girl because she had like an underhook to a single, and I was able to counter that really well.
When you're at international tournaments and you're at a ranking series, is there a different vibe in the arena? Like this matters a little bit more?
Yeah, yes and no. I feel like I felt more pressure at Final X only because I've come so close to making a world team so many times. So I felt a lot of pressure at that tournament. The international tournaments, I don't know why, but I feel less pressure because I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Nobody knows who I am. I feel like at those tournaments, because I haven't wrestled internationally too much, no one really knows who I am. So I feel a little, less pressure. I kind of feel like an underdog, and I like that feeling because I'm like, I'm going to go out there and like show them who Skylar Grote is. But I think that I feel more pressure because it's like Team USA. And there's a lot of pressure to, wrestle well when you're wrestling for the USA because everybody from other countries, they make a huge deal about, USA wrestling. They're like, oh my gosh, you're from the United States. So that's the only pressure I do feel. I feel like I have to represent my country really well. But, that tournament, I was like, I just got to let it fly. And I did, and I had a good performance. So.
You broke down areas of improvement and you talked about underhooks and some different areas there. And that's where your opponent in Final X, Amit Elor, was really good. Did you get that vibe from her when you were out there that she was really skilled in those positions?
Yeah, I knew that going into the match that, that was what her game plan was going to be. It was going to tie me up top and wrestle a little more Greco. And, I prepared for it and I did the best that I could. And, I wrestled her game plan. And I think that that's where I went wrong. I wasn't staying in my stance as well as I could have. I wasn't hitting my low single. I was shooting from, way up top in her ties. And, that was kind of on me. But now that I have a feel for her, next time that we wrestle, I think it's going to be different. And, I think everything happens for a reason. And I think that, I needed that to kind of open my eyes to be like, okay, Skylar, you can't take bad shots from 2-on-1s and underhooks. And I think that it helped me for Italy because, like I said, that German, she was just underhooking me and kind of did the same thing. And I was prepared for it that time. So, as long as you learn from your losses, you're still winning. So I think next time it should go differently.
Thinking back to Final X, when we compare it to a ranking series tournament, the pageantry, you're coming out onto that big stage, you're coming through the crowd. Give us some insight on what that feels like as a competitor to come out and wrestle in an environment like that.
Yeah, it was awesome. Final X New York, it was incredible. I thought they did a great job with the setup. I thought it was really cool how they had us like walk down the steps and be like spotlighted. That was pretty cool. I felt like the energy in the arena or whatever, a theater, it was kind of like a theater, was incredible. I had a lot of people come and watch me and support me because, I'm from Jersey. So that was awesome too, to have like my home crowd there. But yeah, they did an amazing job. It felt special. And I feel like a lot of times at the wrestling tournaments, like the US Open and stuff, like at least this year, like finals weren't really like that big of a deal. And like that environment at Final X, it just seemed like such a big deal. And they made us feel super special. And I loved it. I had a great time. I mean, despite the outcome, it was an awesome experience.
Thinking back to how you got there, you won US Open, so that puts you as the 1 seed. But then at World Team Trials in Coralville, you only had one match. Did that feel strange to go all the way there for one match and then knowing that in a few weeks you had to wrestle in Final X?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of stung because like I had to make weight the first day too to like not wrestle. So I had to make weight, weigh in, and then I didn't have to wrestle. And then I had to make weight the next day and then wrestle right away. So yeah, it was a little odd, but I feel like I'm prepared for all different situations now. It's like I've wrestled on cards before where I only have one match. I've wrestled tournaments where I have 5 matches or only 2. So Nate was just like, we got to do like whatever we have to get to Final X. Like it's going to stink only having one match. So, the day before we're going to get a mat workout in, and that's what we did. And, I warmed up Mal the day before. So I was still on the mat and then got to warm up in before my first match. And I was like up right away too. So the next day, like normally I get a break because I'm like a heavier weight, but it was like I weighed in and within, an hour and a half, or 2 hours, I was up. Like I was right away. I was like the 3rd match, I think. So, I was prepared for anything though. And I was just super determined to get to Final X. So.
In 11 days, you're going to go to Tunisia. This will be, I think, your 6th tournament of the year. How do you get ready for that going into another major tournament?
Yeah, so in between every tournament this summer, I've had like 2 weeks. It's like I get home and I have like 2 weeks to get ready before I leave for the next one. So like I said, I feel like I'm just kind of on a roll at this point, and I have a good system going to, get my weight down and kind of like taper. Like I get home with wrestling, I kind of pick up the intensity for the first week, and then, I go through less intense schedule for the second week, and then I leave. So I kind of have like a system now, and I'm super excited. I'm excited to take a break after this one, though. I've wrestled so much the last 3 months, so I'm excited to push for this last one and hopefully do well, and then take a little bit of a break.
You mentioned your jersey. Let's just back up into how you got out to the DAM RTC in Corvallis, Oregon. How did you make that transition? Why was that the right fit for you?
Yeah, so my story's interesting because, everybody's lives changed during COVID, but I finished my senior year of college online. So I was in Canada and I went to school at Brock University, and then COVID hit in March. And so I went back home in Jersey and finished my last year of college all online. And I needed to figure out what I was going to do wrestling wise. I was wrestling for LVWC during COVID while I was home, but I wanted to further my education somewhere, and I wanted to wrestle at the same time. And so I needed to find a place where I could get my master's and wrestle. And I think I tweeted out, like, I wish there were like more RTC opportunities for women or something. And Nate Engel replied with like the hands up, like the DAM RTC is like here to like support women. And I think Mal and Glaude were there at that time. So then I just started talking to Nate about, you know, potentially moving to Oregon. And I took a trip out there to visit and I loved it. And then I moved out there last July.
What is it about Nate Engel? That guy's awesome, has a great energy, poised. I mean, when you're around him day to day in a training environment, what does he bring out of you?
Yeah, he's just super positive, and I think that he brings out my confidence in me. I think that that's one of my weaknesses. I'm not super confident in my wrestling all the time, and he really just encourages me to like believe in myself. And I think that that's made all the difference. You know, he was saying to me like, you know, you're one of the best in the world in the beginning of this year, and I was like, I don't know if that's true, because you know I hadn't wrestled people that were the best in the world, you know, top 3 in the world yet. And I didn't know where I matched up, but he was just like, no, I'm telling you, like, you're one of the best in the world. And so, you know, the more you hear those positive words and that encouragement, I think the more you believe in yourself. And I think that we can see that in my wrestling this year. You know, I won US Open for the first time. I won senior Pan Ams. So he definitely helps with confidence. And I think he's really good at coming up with a strategy and helping you work on your strengths. Like, he knows, you know, my single leg and my lace are 2 of my best things. And so we really work on those 2 things in practice. And, you know, just different finishes. I've worked on different finishes with him from my single, because he, you know, I'm going to get to someone's legs, but before I wasn't finishing from everywhere. So, you know, he helped me finish, come up through the middle or go backside or come up to my feet. So, yeah, he's really good at what he does.
Skylar, where do you think that lack of confidence, if that's what you want to call it, where do you think that comes from? Where does that originate?
You know, I think that a lot of it has to do with just growing up being a female wrestler. I always had to prove myself growing up. I was always, you know, around boys, wrestling boys, having parents making negative comments towards me that girls shouldn't wrestle, you know, girls aren't this, girls aren't that. So I'm sure that, you know, it kind of originated from that environment growing up and just never really thinking that like I was enough. But, you know, that's something I've really had to work on as an adult. Just like, I just find in wrestling, there's just so much pressure to be the best. And it's just like, oh, well, if I win this, then I'll be enough. Or, you know, if I win the US Open, then I'm good enough. And I think that I've had that mentality for so long. And this year I finally broke away from that. I was like, you know, it doesn't matter whether I mean, I love to win, but it doesn't matter if I win or lose. It doesn't change who I am as a person. And I think that this year I finally have believed that and accepted that. And my wrestling has actually vastly improved because I no longer put my worth in like wins and losses. But I'm sure it's originated from, you know, just all the adversity I had to face as, you know, a young child.
What makes you push through those moments when you do hit some of that adversity or you do get some of those negative comments?
Yeah, I think that I've had a lot of experience dealing with them. And, you know, I work with a sports psych and we talk about like staying on your path. Like sometimes, you know, people or things will try to like pull us off of our path, but we have to keep ourselves on our path. And so I've definitely tried to incorporate that in my life when I feel like I'm like kind of coming off of my path, which would be like believing negative things that people are saying or whatever. I just kind of have to like bring myself back and continue on my personal path that works for me, my schedule, my beliefs, my values. And that's kind of how I bring myself back.
Your dad wrestled at Cornell University. How was he during your journey in those early years of getting into wrestling?
Yeah, so I started wrestling because I saw my dad. I think we talked about this before, but I saw my dad wrestling with his buddy in our living room, and I was like 5 years old, and I said, like, I want to do that. And my parents were like, "Oh, you're too young to start at 5, so we'll wait a couple years." So then they came back to me when I was at like 8, and they were like, "Skylar, you want to wrestle?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to wrestle." Like that was a long time ago, but they were like, "Well, we think you'll be good at it." So they signed me up, and they were like, "If you don't want to do it after, the first year, you can quit." So that's how I got into it. So my dad got me into it. I'm my only brother on my dad's side actually didn't wrestle. So I feel like my dad, was super excited that he had a kid that wanted to wrestle. And my dad's been awesome on my journey. It's awesome to have somebody who understands wrestling and who understands just the toughness of the sport. He gets super excited. I think if you watch any Flow video of me, you hear my dad screaming, whether he's like by the side of the mat or in the stands, you just hear my father screaming at the top of his lungs. But he is a crazy wrestling dad. He used to always try to like find his way into my corner. And then about 3 years ago, I was like, "Dad, you have to stay in the stands." Cause he would just scream right by the side. And I like couldn't hear my coaches or anything. I'm like, "You have to go in the stands. You just have to go in the stands." So now occasionally I'll get like essays before I wrestle about like, the girl I'm going to be wrestling and what I have to do, but it's cute. I know that he just wants the best for me. So.
Is it helpful to get the essays? Do you read them?
Yeah, no, I read them. There's some good information in there for sure. But I'm the type of person that I like to focus on me before I compete. I don't really like to know too much about my opponent. I want to know like a couple things, but I find what works best for me is focusing on myself. So that's what I like. But yeah, he just gets super, super excited. He likes to watch me, and it's awesome to have him. It really is awesome to have him.
And then your mom, is she the opposite? Is she the calm of the two?
Yeah, she's definitely calmer. She's the one I want there. Like if I have a hard loss or something, she's like very comforting. And yeah, so she's kind of that for me. I mean, my dad's comforting too. They've learned to become more and more comforting, whereas when I used to I remember one time I lost, and my mom was like, "Sky, like what happened?" And my dad was like, "She didn't wrestle, that's what happened." And I was like, "No, like you guys have to understand, like I go out there and I wrestle the hardest I can, and sometimes I can't control the outcome." And they've learned too that the best approach to handle me is just to be like, she did her best, because we do. Nobody goes out there to want to lose. So they have grown as wrestling parents as well. And I love them coming. They came to Pan Am's with me in Mexico. They were at Final X. They tried to come to Italy because they were in France at the time, but the COVID requirements for traveling in Europe were too difficult to figure out. So they didn't make that one. But they've been to every competition this year besides Italy. So it's really awesome to have them, there supporting me.
And then you're one of 7 siblings, is that right? Or you have 7 brothers and sisters?
I'm the baby of 7, yes.
Maybe so how do they support you? Do they show up to all your stuff?
My siblings? Yeah,
Yeah.
I have my siblings come to my stuff too. I mean, it's a little difficult because they're all way older than me, so they all have, families and stuff, and they're busy with their own lives. But yeah, they've come. Everybody I think has come to, at least one of my competitions. So yeah, it's just great to have a big supportive family. I absolutely love it.
Brock University, of course, that's in Canada. As you mentioned, you were a 2-time U Sport national champion. Paint a picture of what the U Sport national championships look like.
Yeah, so U Sports. So in Canada, it's like all universities. They don't really call it college. Like if you go to college, it's like community college. So they call college university. Everything's university. So the U Sport tournament it's all the universities in Canada that have wrestling. I believe there's like 21 about. So you wrestle like I had OUAs, and you have to like place top 3 at OUAs to go to U Sport. And then they have, I think 2 other tournaments where you have to take top 3 in other parts of Canada, and then they go to U Sport. So your U Sport bracket is like 9 to 10 people. And the location changes every year. Every school gets to like have it. So my last year was actually at Brock, which was pretty cool. So you're in a bracket of like 10-ish people at U Sport, and then then you wrestle that. So it's similar to the women's tournament in the States. I think it's just less people. I think the women's tournament in the States, you can have like multiple girls per weight class per school. I don't know if they changed that now that they went to like the NAIA and the NCAA, but it's pretty similar, just less girls, I'd say.
What is the difference, I mean, that you've seen in how women's wrestling is viewed in the United States versus Canada? Is there a difference there?
Well, the women's wrestling you're talking about, how
Yeah,
it's viewed?
just because we're still in kind of that infancy period. We have 3 D1 programs now, and kind of building it up. Do you feel like Canada's a little bit ahead of that?
I think that Canada was ahead of us originally, but now in the last like 5-ish years, I think we're definitely ahead of Canada. And we're just like rapidly growing, whereas I think that Canada is kind of staying like pretty level. Whereas in the States, we're just getting more and more programs, and more girls are wrestling. I mean, it's the fastest growing high school sport in the United States, I believe. So yeah, I think that the US is doing a great job. We're sanctioning it state by state, which I think helps a lot. Actually, in New Jersey, I was one of 7 girls to wrestle for the state of New Jersey when I was in high school, and now there's over 1,000, and that
That's
number is
awesome.
just yeah. And I mean, it's been a while since I've been in high school, but it's only been about, let me see, I'm 24. Yeah, it's been about 6 years. So I mean, for it to go from 7 girls to over 1,000 in 6 years, it's pretty incredible.
But to see those numbers and to track them like we both do, that's got to be exciting every time you see a state sanction, every time you see a college ad. I mean, the University of Iowa added women's wrestling first Power 5. That has to excite you, doesn't it?
Oh, it's so exciting. Yeah, so I think someone asked me, they're like, oh, is it like bittersweet? Because it's like, I never had those opportunities. And yeah, of course it's bittersweet, I would say, but it's like so much more sweet because, I'm going to have opportunities to be a coach at a D1 school, which I've always, looked forward to. I get to watch like all these young girls not have to go through the struggle that I had to go through. So that's awesome. And then, if I have kids one day and I have little girls, they're going to have so much more opportunity. So it's really awesome to watch, and it's super exciting. And, it's awesome watching other people get excited about it too. Because I feel like when I was growing up, people weren't really excited about women's wrestling. It was just kind of something I did, and people were either indifferent or they didn't like it. So now to actually watch people get excited about it, it's pretty awesome.
How about wrestling at Oregon State? I mean, it's such a great support system for the DAM RTC with women. Any chance we get it out there?
Yeah, I love Oregon State. I love training there. I'm hoping that they'll start a program sometime soon. It's just, yeah, I feel like those big schools, we just need a couple more to start biting, and then I really think it's going to blow up. Like Iowa has it now. It's kind of like who's next. I kind of hear rumors about, I think it was Ohio State starting a program. So I'm excited to see what other big wrestling schools start. But I hope we get more, that start, because I mean, and I don't know how long I'll be wrestling for, but I definitely want to coach afterwards. So, and I definitely want to coach at a D1 schools. And so I'm hoping I have more options. Hopefully, on the East Coast, because I think eventually I'll want to come back to the East Coast. But
When did you get that coaching bug that was a route you wanted to take?
so during COVID, actually, I never thought I was going to want to coach. I actually thought I was going to want to be a teacher because I really I always helped my friends in classes and stuff. And I really enjoyed like really understanding the material and then going and like teaching my classmates. So I thought I wanted to be like a professor, but then I was like, there's no way I can be a professor and wrestle. It would just be too much. And then over COVID, somebody asked me if I could give their son wrestling lessons. And because I had a mat in my house. And so I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll give him lessons. And so I started coaching in my basement. And I just like fell in love with coaching. And I was just like, this is like what I want to do. So I definitely want to coach women on the D1 level, once I'm done wrestling myself. And after I'm done with my master's, that's kind of the plan.
Are there conversations you have with Nate Engel and others about coaching and how you get into the game?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have talked to them, and they all know that I want to coach, and they all know that that's what I want to do after I'm done wrestling. But actually, we have an Oregon State women's camp August 13th to 14th that we set up. So they've kind of just guided me through the process of how to set up a camp. I talked to Chris about all the things that I needed to have in line before, we have these girls on campus. So, they're kind of guiding me through the preliminary stages of eventually being a coach. And, I actually love to watch the men's practice. I usually do my own practice and then I come back and like get a lift or a wrestle in the afternoon. But then I watch the men's practice and I watch Chris and I watch Nate coach, because I actually think you have to like watch other coaches coach in order to be a good coach yourself. And, it helps my wrestling. It helps me learn like new moves, and I'm actually watching it, and then I can do it in my own practice the next morning. But I also like to see how they handle certain situations. And if somebody's not understanding a technique or something, I like to watch, how they teach that person. So I've been doing that a lot and I enjoy that. So.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on the spot then. Mallory Velti, Alex Glaude are two of your teammates. Give us a coaching profile on each of those two athletes.
A coaching profile?
Yeah, I mean how they respond to different things. I mean what they like to do, because everyone has a different way of being coached. So how do they like to be coached?
Sure. Well, Glaude was out for a while with her knee, so she's just getting back. So I could probably answer it for Mal a little better. But Mal is very technical. She likes to break down techniques and she likes to work on it over and over and over again. So if she's not getting something, she's just going to drill that one move over and over. I remember she's working on something with her double, but we literally stayed for like 45 minutes after practice and she was just breaking down like every little piece of her double for 45 minutes. And so she likes repetition. And I think we both like calmness in our corners, and Nate is super calm. We like to be coached in that way. We don't want someone screaming in the corner. We want someone at the break to be like, all right, just like get to your stuff, like relax, you're okay. So we both enjoy that. So yeah, I would say that's kind of like a coaching profile on her. And then I don't really know much about Glaude's coaching profile yet,
But on the calm piece, I just watched an interview that Mallory gave with John Kozak with FloWrestling. They were out there, but she had some great things to say about just staying calm, staying in the moment. To stay calm, It doesn't just happen. How do you get to the point where you feel calm and just feel in the moment on the mat?
Yeah, it's tough, especially with like all the excitement and all of the distractions going on. I find that I stay calm by kind of replaying like my strategy in my head. I'm just kind of like, okay, I gotta win the hand fight, get to a leg, get to my lace. And I just kind of like replay that strategy over and over in my head. And it like brings me back on my path, like I talked about before. So that's how I stay focused. And also, I love a quiet corner. I like my coaches in the corner to be super positive, super calm, and I feel like they pick up on that. And Nate is really good at adjusting to each athlete and knowing what they want. And, he certainly has adjusted to me. He knows that I like to be pushed really hard outside of like competition. Like I like to be really pushed in the room and stuff. And I need that as an athlete. So, he is that, he does that for me. And yeah, it's awesome having him as a coach. He's a great coach. And then I enjoy having Chris as a coach too, and Mike Kasoy. It's just like such a good coaching staff at Oregon State. So
we mentioned your ranking series win at the beginning of this interview. Forgot to ask about this cool little medal you got, a little shoe. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, it's right over there actually. So they gave us this medal, and it's like a glass shoe. It's actually glass. Some people were like surprised that it was glass, but it's like painted glass. And they made like the little lines on it gold for the gold one. It's awesome. I mean, I've never gotten a medal like that, and everybody else is like, that's the coolest medal ever. It's actually hanging on. I'll go grab it real fast so you guys can see.
Yeah. Get to see a medal in live time.
Yes. Yeah, it's so cute too. They did the little like UWW logo, and then everything's gold, and it's glass. I was so nervous that I was going to break it on my way back, but I just wrapped it in some clothes, and then it says ranking series on the back, the name of the tournament, and then it says like your weight class. So pretty cool.
I thought at first when I saw it, I thought maybe it was just something soft, but I didn't know it was porcelain like that.
No, it's glass. Yeah, it's awesome. They did a great job with it. Super cool.
Now we got to end with this. You were born on December 24th, so of course that's the day before Christmas. So how does the birthday Christmas go for you when you celebrate your birthday, followed by the Christmas the following day?
Yeah, so everybody thinks I get like gypped on gifts and stuff because, Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day. But I actually see so many people on Christmas Eve, and I see so many people that like you wouldn't normally see on your birthday. So I get so many people saying like, oh, we feel bad for you. Like you get gypped, and they like give me gifts. But like I would normally never see that person on my birthday, and they're giving me a gift now because they're seeing me. So I actually do end up with a lot of presents, and I enjoy it. I like it. I like seeing everybody on my birthday. We go to my mom's friend's house with like 75 people, and then the next day we have like 30 people at my house. So, it's great to spend that time with family, and it's also nice because I'm always home for Christmas. So I'm always going to be home for my birthday, whereas, wrestling in college and stuff, it's like I think I was there the whole season except for 5 days at Christmas. So it was nice to always be able to go home for my birthday and for Christmas. So that's kind of my view on my birthday and Christmas.
Skylar, this has been fun. You've had a good year, one more tournament to go, and then we'll see what happens the remainder of the year. But I'm going to give you the final word. Any final thoughts before we part ways?
No, it was awesome talking to you and being on the show today. If anybody wants to stay up to date on my wrestling and stuff, you can follow me on social media. It's just Sky Grote on basically everything, Twitter, Instagram. So SKYGROTE.
All right, that is Skylar Grote. Thanks for joining us. For Mark Bader, who's not here, I'm Kyle Klingman. You have been watching The Bader Show.
Thank you.